We'll wait for a minute or two before we kick off the session. Okay, let's begin. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking time to attend today's webinar. This webinar is jointly organized by the Carbon Trust, British Chamber of Commerce Philippines, the Philippine Association of Meat Processors Inc., and the Cold Chain Association of the Philippines. This webinar is delivered as part of the UK government-funded ASEAN Low Carbon Energy Program. Jumping right straight in, allow me to introduce to you Dr. Rebecca Shah, Political Counselor at the British Embassy in Manila, to deliver the opening remarks. Rebecca is a diplomat at the British Embassy in Manila, where she leads the team working on external and regional politics, communications, prosperity, science, and their environment. Over to you, Dr. Shah.
Thank you very much, Hazim. So welcome, good afternoon or good morning, wherever you may be in the world, joining us today to talk about energy saving and costs, taking action in the Philippines food and beverage sector. So I am a political counsellor at the British Embassy in Manila here, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this discussion where I hope to learn a lot myself and to dive in and focus on the potential in an area which is both hugely important, but perhaps also often under-considered, with the potential to bring high environmental and financial benefits. You will, I think, be aware that 6 years ago in Paris, world leaders committed to a historic agreement to tackle climate change. In the Paris Agreement, they agreed to keep global mean temperature rises well below 2 degrees and to strive to limit it to 1.5 degrees. And as you may also know, next year, we had planned for it to be this year, but a little something called COVID got in our way. The UK will be hosting the COP26, the 26th Conference of Parties of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which is such a mouthful that we stick with COP26 for short. We'll be co-hosting with Italy in Glasgow next November. And as we see it, the science is clear. Climate change is real and it's threatening all of our futures. And the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been clear in his vision that in the run-up to COP26, we will hold a year of climate action. And that's in the UK, but also internationally. We will be working with partners across the world to support an ambitious approach to COP26 and asking all of our partners to produce ambitious, nationally determined contributions. At COP26, we also hope to focus on helping to prepare communities better for climate impacts, protecting and restoring natural habitats and ecosystems, and most relevant for us here today, embracing the opportunities of renewable energy and speeding up the phasing out of petrol and diesel engines. And it's in this area that we will, I think, and I hope, learn a lot today. So we recognise the positive effort of the Philippine government in this energy subsector, particularly with the passage of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act from last year, an effort which we were pleased to support through our UK Government Prosperity Fund on Low Carbon Energy, or LCEP for short. LCEP works in partnership with the Department of Energy on a number of energy saving initiatives and supports the region's low carbon energy transition, providing policy support, capacity building and technical assistance to facilitate green finance flows and to improve regulatory policy and practical conditions for green energy efficiency measures. Energy is necessary to fuel growth and to meet the increasing electricity demand in developing economies. And we fully recognise that. But that means that many developing economies have become large contributors to global carbon emissions. And it's interesting to look at this in the context of the current COVID pandemic. We know that energy demand decreased during the early stages of the pandemic, but we're already starting to see that energy use is creeping back up again. And it's expected to slowly peak and continue to rise as economies begin to reopen and try to boost economic activity. So efficient use of energy has been identified as vital to address growing global energy demands and to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions and operating costs, safeguarding our environment, generating financial savings, and improving energy security. Energy efficiency measures also promote business innovation and ensure consumer access to affordable and high-performing technologies. At this juncture, we now find a window of opportunity to build back better towards a cleaner, greener, or even cleaner, greener, and more resilient future, wherein energy efficiency can play a significant role. So I want to thank today the British Chamber of Commerce, the Philippine Association of Meat Processors, the Cold Chain Association of the Philippines, and the Carbon Trust, our LSEP delivery partner, for organising this webinar. I hope today's briefing will provide a deeper appreciation of the benefits and the potential of energy efficiency models and how these can help take forward a green recovery and embed the climate and sustainability agenda in our respective ventures. So thank you very much. Hazim, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Rebecca. Now over to you, Christopher, from the British Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines. I think you're muted, Chris. Yeah, I think you're still, yeah, there you go.
Okay, sorry for that. Technology struggles here, but good afternoon to everybody. This is Chris Nelson. I'm from the British Chamber of Commerce and clearly not very technically adept. I can't get on my web camera, so I apologize, but all the other people there are much better looking than me, so you're better off not seeing me. But I would like to take you through very quickly what the British Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines does. Hassan, if you can kindly show slide 1. Yeah. This is what we do. Primarily, we have two key functions. One is representing our members' interests. We have over 300 members. And the other actually that we're doing, working very closely with the UK government, supporting them in terms of trade and investment and developing business opportunities for companies in the Philippines and acting as a network. If I could have slide 2. Yep. As you can see from this slide, we have been growing significantly over time. I would like to emphasize to all our participants that we're open to both British and non-British companies. And in fact, one of our key roles is to be a networking opportunity. And we've seen that in terms of business development. So this is a blatant invitation for anybody to join today. And we will leave that there. Obviously, we are a selling organization, as you can see. But we work, slide 3, as you can see, this is our network back to the UK. And this is important because we act as a bridge between the Philippines and like-minded organizations in the UK. So as you can see, UK-ASEAN, BSEA, various chambers, Philippine British Business Council, and this is in order to keep the Philippines foremost as much as we can amongst opportunities for companies to do business in the Philippines. And I'd just like to say to our local Philippine partners today that we are also very keen on promoting the export of British food and drink, and therefore if you have any opportunities, please, we would love to work together. My next slide, thank you again, Hasim, is on our overseas partner delivery. This is the program we have been running. This is in our 5th year with the UK government. This is in partnership with Department of International Trade. We focus on certain key sectors and also principally small to medium-sized companies. And in particular, we're very focused on food and drink and on the retail sector, where we see a lot of opportunities in the Philippines. And although that may be some obviously short-term issues, which clearly has been affecting all countries, longer term, the prospects are very strong, and we constantly advocate that. And as you can see, we have helped many companies over the time. I'd just like to also show you the services we run, which is a variety, obviously in terms of membership, for the partner delivery, and of course events. Events, of course, we used to be very active in terms of physical events. They have been curtailed since obviously post 17th of March, and we now live in a virtual world of Zoom, well today is GoToWebinar and various others. But at some point we hope to come back to our physical events, because it's not quite the same drinking a glass of wine on a virtual screen as opposed to being with someone. But that is our aim, and we have been very active in terms of webinars. My next slide is about advocacy. We are clearly there to represent our members' interests, and in that respect we also work closely, as I stressed, with the British Embassy in terms of also working with the Prosperity Fund and so forth. And we look at areas where we see opportunity. One was the ease of doing business. That was an act that was passed, and there's now a body called the Anti-Red Tape, for which we've engaged on a frequent basis. We are pushing for retail liberalization, which would allow easier investment into the retail trade sector of the Philippines, which we think will be a boost. And we are constantly looking at promoting trade and investment between the two companies in partnership with obviously the embassy. The next slide is how we do this in terms of advocacy. We do various media interviews. We do various engagements, both directly with government officials and obviously via the media. If you look at the next one, which is our events, obviously these were physical events, which at some point we hope to come back, but we've been extremely active in terms of hosting webinars, which I believe is my almost penultimate slide. As you can see, a host of webinars that we have run, particularly with government officials, and this has produced a lot of engagement, because while obviously, and as Rebecca has already said, COVID has made impact, we have to live with it and keep working with it, and in the sense of doing and focusing and overcoming what we can. And obviously we've been doing that via webinars and via contact. Finally, one of my last slides is how you can contact us. Obviously, we are a very active, dynamic organization. We welcome any suggestions, and we welcome anybody joining us. Finally, I would like to thank everybody who's a panelist today. I won't run through all the various organizations, but I would like to say this is a testimony once again of work between the UK government, Prosperity, the support we get from Carbon Trust, the meat import associations, and local organizations. This is really, for me, a key representation and a benefit, if I may say, if I can be positive about COVID, it's brought organizations closer together. Hassan, thank you very much for kindly moving my slides. Once again, apologies to everybody you can't see me, but I can assure you Hassan is far more better looking than I am, and I'm sure he'll do a much better job than me anyhow. And I'd like to say thanks again to Rebecca, and I believe now it's over to Hassan and Jeff. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, Chris. Now I'm gonna play two videos, one from the Philippines Association of Meat Processors, Inc. The opening remarks will be on your screen shortly.
This webinar on energy efficiency and conservation for the domestic food and beverage industry. We recognize that the cost of electricity is one of the major expense items in our industry. Every year, we tried to look at various options on how such costs can be mitigated to make our operations more efficient and profitable. Our search for new or alternative cheaper sources of power is a never-ending one. It is our hope that the UK-ASEAN Energy Efficiency Accelerator will help our industry develop and implement measures to make our industry more efficient and innovative in the use of electric power. We thank the UK government for helping developing countries such as ours improve energy conservation and efficiency for the benefit of food and beverage industries and eventually for our people. Maraming salamat.
And now another video from the Cold Chain Association of the Philippines.
The Cold Chain Association of the Philippines, I would like to express our appreciation to the UK-ASEAN Energy Efficiency Accelerator and the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines for their initiative at organizing this webinar on saving energy and costs in the Philippine food and beverage sector. We in the cold chain industry recognize that the cost of electric power is one of our largest operating expense items. Necessarily, therefore, our industry is in continuing search mode for technologies, efficiency improvement measures, and other strategies aimed at mitigating the cost impact of energy on our operations. We trust that today's activity shall pave the way for the development and implementation of action plans that would address this concern as we prepare ourselves to confront the new normal as a country, a society, and an industry. I look forward to an active and productive meeting. Thank you and good afternoon.
Very well. Now, let's take back to okay. Just give me a minute, toggle back the screen. Okay, very well. Okay, so there was a quick round of opening remarks from the British Embassy Manila and British Chamber of Commerce Philippines and the food associations. So I am Hazim, and together with Jeff, we are both from the Carbon Trust. I am based out of the Singapore office, while Jeff is based in the Northern Ireland. And just a quick introduction into the Carbon Trust. The Carbon Trust is an environmental and sustainability consultancy. Our mission is to accelerate the move to a sustainable, low carbon economy. We work across policy, technology, and finance in this space and support governments, multilateral organizations, businesses, and the private sector, helping them chart their journey towards a more sustainable future. We cut through uncertainty to provide insights that support better decision-making across our various client range. We have a global reach, as you see on the map here. We are headquartered in London, United Kingdom, and have offices in Asia, Africa, Europe, North and South America. Carbon Trusts have been commissioned by the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office to deliver the ASEAN Low Carbon Energy Program, and we are delivering this together with our consortium partners, EY and IMC Worldwide. The Low Carbon Energy Program, or LCEP, focuses on two key topics: green finance and energy efficiency. Carbon Trust is leading the delivery of the energy efficiency pillar. And on top of the Philippines, the Carbon Trust is also working to scale up energy efficiency implementation in Malaysia, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam. The range of support provided by Carbon Trust under LCEP include capacity building to the various stakeholders, policy support to governments, technical assistance, and market development through technical assistance around regulations and pilot projects. So this webinar, as mentioned, is organized as part of one of the regional projects under the LCEP program, and it is also known as the UK-ASEAN Energy Efficiency Accelerator. Under this regional project, Carbon Trust will deliver technical support to companies in the food and beverage sector in the 5 countries to establish and maintain an energy management system with a focus on improving energy efficiency and setting more ambitious energy performance targets. So as a start, it is key for us to lay the context of energy consumption in the Philippines. So within the industry sector in the Philippines, our insights have revealed that it is crucial to note that food and beverage companies make up an overwhelmingly large proportion of establishments, more than 50% in fact, and the F&B sector alone accounts for more than 10% of the Philippines' GDP in 2017. So based on government statistics, there are approximately 12,500 food and beverage companies, and of which more than 90% of these companies are MSMEs. And the subsectors with the largest number of companies include the confectionery, rice milling, and meat processing. So these are also the subsectors within the F&B sector that have the highest cumulative economic value add. So food processing is also the second largest energy consuming industrial subsector, as you see in the pie chart on the left. It consumes about 25% of the industry sector's total and is only second to the cement sector, which consumes 32%. But this high energy consumption is one of the underlying motivations for LCEP to focus on the food and beverage subsector. So our insights have also revealed that in the Philippines food and beverage subsector, biofuels and waste are the primary fuel type consumed by the sector. This is followed by electricity, coal, and then oil products. So before we move on, I would like to engage our participants out there in a quick poll. So you will see it on the screen right now, a question. So does your organization actively manage and try to reduce its energy use? So please, you have 4 options there. Please answer as honest as you can, and so that we can have a better understanding of the current status in the Philippines. We'll leave this poll open for about another 10 seconds more. Okay, I think, Kalyani, we can close the poll. And can we launch the results? Yes, so about 63% of you responded that yes, you do actively manage and try to reduce your energy use. And 100% of you actually answered yes. So we're happy to see this. And it is key to manage and act on energy efficiency. We will dive into this deeper shortly and what the opportunities may be when Jeff presents his portion. So back to the PowerPoint slides. Yep, so as you would all know, the Philippines Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act was signed into law by the President in 2019. And under this act, facilities consuming more than 100,000 kilowatt hours of energy annually are required to integrate an energy management system based on ISO 50001 or similar, and are required to submit an annual energy consumption report to the Department of Energy. So facilities who consume more than 500,000 kilowatts of energy annually have more obligations, and this include setting up programs to develop and design measures that promote energy efficiency, to set up annual targets, plans, and methods of M&V, and are mandated to improve average specific energy consumption and conduct periodic energy audits and to hire energy managers. So this act sets the tone and momentum for increased energy efficiency action in the Philippines from now on. So from now on, we can only expect that more energy efficiency actions and measures should be undertaken. And I will now hand over to Jeff, who will explain why energy efficiency should be every company's focus beyond mere compliance with regulation. Over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Hussein. So with that useful background into energy usage in the Philippines, why should businesses save energy? Well, there are a number of very good reasons. Firstly, there's increasing international recognition of the importance of energy efficiency in achieving climate goals at a corporate, country, and global level. Back in 2018, the International Energy Agency, one of the world's foremost authorities on energy, concluded that the right energy efficiency policies could enable the world to achieve more than 40% of the greenhouse gas emissions reductions needed to reach global climate goals without new technology. So the prize offered by existing energy efficiency technologies is very much encouraging policymakers to prioritize energy efficiency as the first fuel in their low carbon transitions. And of course, those climate goals include those of the Paris Agreement, as Dr. Shah has mentioned, which the Philippines, of course, ratified in March 2017. And that agreement commits signatories to take action to keep global temperature rise this century well below 2 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels, and to pursue efforts to limit temperature increases to just below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Indeed, in their ratification declaration, the government of the Republic of the Philippines stated that their accession to and implementation of the Paris Agreement is for the purpose of supporting the country's national development objectives and priorities, such as sustainable industrial development, the eradication of poverty and provision of basic needs, and securing social and climate justice and energy security for all its citizens. In their June 2020 Sustainable Recovery Report, the IEA also noted that energy efficiency measures deliver the largest overall reduction in emissions, and together with solar photovoltaic, create the most jobs per $1 million of investment. So countries are increasingly recognizing the strategic potential for energy efficiency to create jobs, help grow their economies, and attain cost-effective emissions reductions. Next slide, please. However, the rate of deployment of energy efficiency technologies and techniques is still too slow, as emphasized in this June 2020 report from the Global Commission for Urgent Action on Energy Efficiency. For although the latest figures show that global primary energy intensity, that is energy used per unit of GDP, improved by 1.2% in 2018. This was actually the slowest rate since 2010, and it's well below the average 3% that would be consistent with the IEA's efficient world scenario. So there's much more to be done. Looking beyond climate and economic objectives, energy efficiency can also help reduce levels of air pollution, which can lead to improvements in health and crop yields. Indeed, over 1/3 of the 25 measures in this 2019 Climate and Clean Energy Coalition report relate to improvements in energy efficiency. Next slide, please. For an individual business, as well as contributing to national, international, and global objectives, energy efficiency can improve competitiveness and profitability by eliminating avoidable waste and thereby reducing energy costs. So it's also good for business reputation. Governments, supply chains, and consumers are increasingly scrutinizing the environmental credentials of companies they do business with. So as expectations increase, smart, early adopter companies can benefit from enhanced reputations. There are also increasing expectations from employees. Over the years, successive carbon trust surveys point out that well over 2/3 of employees want to assist their employer to become more environmentally friendly, but they're not being asked to do so. So there's generally a latent but very willing workforce wanting to support better management efforts. Next slide, please. Of course, energy efficiency and energy management is not a one-off happening. It is a journey, and informed by our experience of managing the UK's energy efficiency best practice programme for over a decade. This slide represents our recommended approach. Proactive energy management ensures companies develop an energy policy, strategy, set targets, create an action plan, measure and report energy usage and emissions. Energy conservation lowers energy demands through, for example, use of thermal insulation to lower heat gains or heat losses. Energy efficiency measures ensure that demands are met in the most efficient manner. And when the requirements have been optimized, consideration can then be given to the deployment of on-site and off-site renewable energy systems. And for those companies striving for carbon neutrality, consideration may also be given to the purchase of certified green energy. And this approach allows companies to optimize their energy performance in the most cost-effective manner and ensures, for example, that they do not generate or purchase renewable energy only to waste it through poor standards of energy management, conservation, or efficiency. Next slide, please. When working with companies to review their energy management performance, we typically examine and score each of the following aspects. We ask, do you have an energy policy? If so, is it up to date? Does it carry the authority of the executive or the senior management team? Is there an energy strategy that underpins the policy? Are there appropriate lines of responsibility and accountability for energy usage defined? Are energy regulations noted and compliance ensured? Is the procurement policy fit for purpose? It's just worth emphasizing that many items of engineering, process, and building services equipment, energy costs form a very high percentage of the total cost of ownership over the life of the asset. So it's critically important to ensure that procurement procedures are effective and that equipment is purchased on the basis of best value over their life cycle and not just on the basis of lowest initial cost. And that's a really important point just to underscore. We see many companies making infrequent decisions to upgrade plant and equipment, and they buy on capital cost, lowest initial cost, but fail to account for the running costs and total ownership costs over the life of the asset, which can typically be 10+ years. So we examine that and make sure that investment procedures are documented and are supportive of energy efficiency measures. We ask, do they monitor and appropriately target and report energy use? Are targets challenging? Are they in keeping with national requirements and consumer and client expectations? Do they engage staff? As I say, there's a very willing workforce usually, but are they being engaged and invited to come up with thoughts, ideas, suggestions, and to participate in energy management objectives? Operational procedures. Very often for multi-site organizations, there's a failure to have at least a minimum standard of performance for engineering and building services systems. So documenting minimum requirements and ensuring that they're adhered to through internal audit is also a very lucrative way of achieving low-cost energy savings. And of course, communications. Does the organization communicate their ambition to their stakeholders and to their workforce? So looking at these objectively really allows us to form an independent view of the company's performance and allows them to rapidly benchmark themselves to best practice and highlights actions to address, to improve deficiencies in current performance. Next slide, please. To ensure good energy management practices become embedded and normalized within the everyday business operations, we are strong advocates of the ISO 50001 energy management standard. Like other management systems, such as ISO 14001, it requires continual improvement, driven by the cyclical plan, do, check, act regime. It has proven to be highly effective in driving energy costs and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And it enjoys a very high level of user satisfaction. An ISO survey indicates that over 90% of users would recommend the system to others. And for these reasons, we're keen to share with companies in the Philippines our experience and our expertise of designing and implementing energy management systems to ISO 50001 standards. Next slide, please. As already alluded to, energy efficiency is all about maximizing the useful work or energy from each unit of energy used and paid for. As well as cost and climate benefits, energy efficiency can, and very often does, provide secondary benefits, such as improved product quality through, for example, provision of more consistent, uniform, tightly controlled heat, cooling, airflow, water flow, depending on the system, increased productivity and production arising from improved reliability of modern, more efficient equipment, and very often enhanced comfort conditions that can arise from reducing heat gains or heat losses, more uniform, flicker-free, glare-free lighting, and better performing mechanical ventilation, air conditioning equipment, etc. Next slide, please. And the business case for energy efficiency is compelling. This marginal abatement cost curve from the International Energy Agency's June 2020 Sustainable Recovery Report shows that around 1/3 of the CO2 emissions reductions that would occur as a result of their sustainable recovery plan have negative abatement costs, meaning they would save emissions while also saving money. And the elements with negative abatement costs are chiefly energy efficiency measures in industrial processes, buildings, and transport sectors. So embracing energy efficiency truly is a no regrets action. Next slide, please. As we heard earlier from Hasim, this current phase of the UK-ASEAN Energy Efficiency Accelerator is focused on the food and beverage sector. And all the most common processes within the sector require energy, from materials handling through mixing, filtering, hardening, baking, drying, evaporating, distilling, chilling, packaging, etc. So the sector simply could not function without the use of energy. And the program has been designed to help companies to minimize their energy requirements through the adoption of good standards in energy management and efficiency. In order to support this objective, we have developed an energy efficiency guide for the sector that provides advice, guidance, checklists for the most common energy using systems within the sector, including boilers, heat, steam distribution, refrigeration, motors and drives, lighting, etc. And for companies new or relatively new to energy management and efficiency, this guide will serve as an excellent point of reference. And for those companies that are maybe more mature on their energy management journey, it should also serve as a useful points of validation of their actions. Next slide, please. As part of our research, as Hasim has mentioned, for the guide and for the wider program, we did review the status of energy efficiency in the Philippines and determined that for most companies, energy efficiency is gaining increased attention, which is very welcome, especially following the implementation of the July 2018 Act that was referenced earlier. However, energy management systems are not typically implemented, especially amongst SMEs. And where they are implemented, there appear to be significant opportunities to better align and indeed certify to ISO 50001. Reported rates of energy metering, measurement and reporting are typically low, and few companies actively track and benchmark their energy usage against production or turnover or throughput. And also energy auditing, we note, is rarely undertaken with the exception of some large international companies. So it appears that there are some, indeed very many food and beverage companies in the Philippines that could and hopefully will benefit from this initiative. Next slide, please. And the opportunity is significant and achievable through a range of tried, tested and proven technologies and techniques, such as policy and behavioural changes, which frequently deliver savings of 10% plus for little or no cost, improved industrial process energy efficiency, investment in better motors and drives, compressed air systems, refrigeration, process heating, process controls, through building energy efficiency. So improvements to mechanical ventilation and air conditioning systems, improvements to lighting systems, and improved control over all of those, and through the deployment of renewable energy. So investing to generate local renewable heat or electricity through sustainable biomass, use of heat pumps, use of solar energy, use of cogeneration, combined heat and power, or waste to energy. Next slide, please. So looking at some of these in a little more detail, we can see that significant energy savings can be achieved in thermal steam systems through the use of modern, efficient, digitally controlled burners that deploy oxygen trim control, through the use of better standards of thermal insulation, very obvious one, but often lacking in steam and thermal systems. So just better insulation of pipework, of fittings, of valves, flanges, heat exchangers can deliver very cost-effective savings. Through better control of feed water to steam boilers, through modulating controls, and through heat recovery from use of economizers on boilers to extract more energy from flue gases and use for process hot water or for preheating feed water to the boilers. Next slide, please. Within electric motor and drive systems, significant savings can be achieved from deployment of variable speed drives to exercise control over variable demand systems, replacement of oversized standard efficiency, IE1 motors with right-sized premium or super efficiency motors, and through simple things such as improved maintenance, improved lubrication regimes of motors and drive systems, through better belt tensioning, and through general cleanliness of motors and drive systems also. Next slide, please. Within refrigeration systems, savings typically arise from use of generously sized condensers and evaporators, use of intelligent defrost on demand systems by introducing floating head pressure control over condensing pressures to avail of ambient conditions, and through good standards of planned preventative maintenance. Also very significant savings in upgrading compressors. We see lots of opportunity, especially in the refrigeration sector, for deployment of oil-free magnetic bearing compressors, which can often deliver in their own right 30% plus savings over aging, inefficient compressors. So lots of scope to invest in proven technology to deliver very significant savings. Next slide, please. So just to summarize and conclude before I hand back to Hasim, throughout this initiative, we will implore, encourage, and support companies in the Philippines to understand their energy use, to identify opportunities for eliminating wastage, to develop prioritized action plans to target resources, time and money to maximize returns, to engage with the UK-ASEAN Energy Efficiency Accelerator to obtain specialist help. We've got many highly experienced energy professionals eager to skill share with motivated companies in the Philippines. So please take advantage of that and use that service. We'll encourage companies to take action to improve policies, practices, and procedures to measure and report your successes. And finally, to embrace a mindset and a culture of continuous improvement to obtain the full benefits of being a forward-thinking, energy efficient company. So thank you for your attention. I look forward to your questions shortly, but meantime, I'll hand back to Hasim. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for that. Thanks for the quick and brief and quick deep dive into some of the energy cost and savings opportunities that could be achieved by companies in the Philippines. So basically, how can the UK-ASEAN Energy Efficiency Accelerator support you? So the accelerator is open to enterprises of all sizes, focused on food and beverage manufacturing. So we're open to SME, small companies, medium companies, and even large enterprises, as long as you're in the process, in the business of food and beverage manufacturing. So this accelerator is open until March 2022, and all assistance and capacity building that will be provided will be offered at no cost and on a first come, first served basis. So the accelerator will provide support ranging from the provision of self-assessment tools and EE guidance on our website. You will receive the link to our website tomorrow when we send you a follow-up email post-webinar. On this website, you can also find some comprehensive guides, some of which Jeff has already gone through briefly just now, which covers the common processes in the F&B sector. We will provide you with a checklist for you to understand where energy savings opportunities may lie for your company. So this picture here on the right gives you a snapshot of one of the checklists in those guides. We will also organize capacity building workshops. We have several in the pipeline. This will be announced soon through your associations. And we also provide technical assistance to companies on a first come, first served basis. So this may include advising your company's energy strategy and energy target setting, or advising you on how you could develop an energy management system that is in line with international best practice. So if you are keen, if your company is keen on the support that has been provided by the UK-ASEAN Energy Efficiency Accelerator, please feel free to get in touch with us and do reach out to us at this email address that you see here, singapore@carbontrust.com. I'm just going to leave the screen here for a while so you can take a photo, note it down, and remember our email address. We strongly encourage you to reach out to us so that we can provide you with support on how you could scale up your energy efficiency implementation efforts. So now that the formal presentation is over, we have 10 minutes left and we're open to answering questions, any questions that you may have. You can send your questions on the question tab on the right hand on the GoToWebinar panel. Let's see. Okay. So I see a question here, and one of them is asking whether the current support is limited to the food and beverage sector and whether it can be expanded to other sectors. So at the current stage, in the current moment, the ASEAN Low Carbon Energy Program provides support to food and beverage companies, and only those in the food and beverage companies. This is because of the preliminary research that we've done, which reflected that there is significant potential for energy savings to be achieved in the Philippines food and beverage sector. So while this may be the scope of the work at this stage, there could be opportunities in the future for us to continue to focus on other sectors beyond the food and beverage sector as well. Just feel free to send in questions as well. So another question that came in is there a limit to the number of companies that can avail of the technical assistance from the Carbon Trust? So we are able to provide technical assistance to companies, and this will be based on a needs assessment or looking at what the companies require so that they can scale up energy efficiency implementation. However, as was mentioned earlier, the support that we will provide will be based on a first come first served basis. So if your company is keen to get on board and keen to scale up your energy efficiency implementation, do reach out to us as soon as you can, and we strongly encourage you to contact us very quickly, because we've had the webinar in Myanmar before the Philippines, and post webinar we received overwhelming response, and we would have to, and it is difficult to be able to provide support to all given the resources that we have. But we look forward to hear back from as many of you as possible and to help as many of you as we can. So another question that just came in: do you have any tips to get senior management buy-in to support energy efficiency or management activities? Jeff, would you like to have a go at this question?
Sure.
The question is, do you have any tips to get senior management buy-in to support energy efficiency or management activities?
Yeah, great question. I would certainly highlight the cost-saving benefits that would accrue to the company and the reputational benefits that could also result. To estimate the annual recurring cost saving, it would be safe to cite a conservative 20% of current energy costs. And it's usually more motivating to express this 20% figure as the cost of inaction. That is, by not properly and proactively managing energy, the business is spending X annually on wasted energy. I would also emphasize the reputational benefits. It is usually helpful to present an independent case study that features a competitor company, for example, or a company within the sector, to illustrate the positive PR that can be enjoyed by identifying as an energy efficient, climate friendly business. And if there is skepticism within the senior management team, then a small, properly metered pilot project can often prove helpful in providing reassurance that the technology or the techniques actually work and deliver. And that can often help secure further support for wider rollout.
Thanks, Jeff. So there's another question that came in, and this is on energy management systems. So do you recommend any energy management systems? And this respondent mentioned that I am currently talking with Best Energy for the Philippine market, the UK company based in Cornwall. Do you have any response? Do you have any recommendations, Jeff, on energy management systems?
Yeah, as we indicated in our presentation, we are strong supporters of the ISO 50001 energy management system. That's an internationally recognized standard. It does succinctly and systematically force energy management throughout an organization. It requires the commitment and buy-in from senior management and requires participation right down to the throughout the workforce. So we would certainly encourage energy management systems to reflect the requirements of ISO 50001. In terms of companies that can support the design, development, and implementation of 50001, we're not in a position to advocate for commercial organizations. There are many out there who specialize in it. Clearly do check their credentials, check their track record, and ensure that they're familiar with your sector and knowledgeable of the requirements for the food and beverage sector in this case. Hasim has mentioned that we are very keen to support companies in the Philippines. Part of our technical assistance does include support to design, develop, and implement energy management systems to 50001. We clearly will not be able to design and implement an entire system, but we've got very experienced 50001 lead assessors and auditors who can provide very useful support along that journey. So it is something that the program can offer support to. And if that is something you're interested in, then as Hasim has mentioned, do contact us via that email address. I would be very happy to discuss further how the program could best help your company implement an effective energy management system.
Thanks, Jeff. Maybe we have time for one last question. And this question asks if there is any possibility, hold on, let me just bring it back up. If there's any possibility for Carbon Trust to organize and conduct some sort of an orientation webinar for management stakeholders in the F&B sector to facilitate their buy-in to energy management systems. So yes, this is something that is possible, that we can do. We do provide capacity building workshops, awareness workshops to raise the profile of energy management systems, and we can do this. So in fact, as a follow-up to this webinar, we will be sending out surveys to better understand what are the needs from F&B companies in the Philippines, so that we can then design and deliver capacity building workshops that best target the needs of the companies in the Philippines. So I'm afraid that is all the time that we have today. If you have any other questions, please feel free to contact us at this email address, singapore@carbontrust.com. We look forward to hearing from you and to get your involvement in the UK-ASEAN Energy Efficiency Accelerator. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you.